my hope is that a message will come out of this place to our decision makers, to the people who can make a difference, whether it is in industries or governments. When I see young people like Rob Stewart, who said it just the way it is, how many more kick in the ass do we need to get up and go and make a difference? Are we going to be able to take care of our species? Because this is, at the end of the day, what it's all about. And, you know, Dr. Sylvia Earle, who I have the honor of having her serve on my board, said it all as well. And having the presence of major representative of communications, media, and having Emilio Azcárraga here, who can reach out to 1.5, 2.5 continents, where there are people who are very curious and interested, but they need to get the message as well. And I think that we are at a turning point, and in as much as I'm one of the older people here, I'm excited, and at the same time, I hope I will be there to see the difference that I learned from my father when I was a kid. We have no excuse to say we didn't know when before we did. Before we didn't know, now we do. So what we've heard here today sounds like giant masturbation. We need to get that out there to those who are going to be able to make a difference. And you know, to me, after being pushed overboard at the age of 7 when I became a scuba diver, I was instantly certified. I have seen my own backyard being destroyed, my playground, where I used to go with my late brother, and as a family with my mom and dad, we were exploring. This was in the early 40s. And I've seen it go away, and we've been talking about it ever since. And it's going away again and again and again. And as it was mentioned so many times today, I don't want to repeat what was said, but our focus, or my focus, or Ocean Fisher's focus is, what are we doing to our coastal habitats? What are we doing to our fish? What are we doing to using the ocean as a garbage can? We can stop all of that and change it around. It can be done. It's not like it's impossible. And when we appeared very recently on the planet, compared to the sharks, compared to whales and dolphins, only 3.5 million years ago, ill-equipped with no real fangs and claws, we're hiding in caves, stealing the fur of animals for our protection because we didn't know anything else. We almost didn't make it as a species. And thanks to these formidable tools, our brain and our hands, we came out of that misery. And in the process, we completely disconnected ourselves from nature, our life support system. We were able to isolate ourselves, cover ourselves when it's cold, and open up when it's warm, and air conditioning, and creating lights when it's dark, and dark when it's light. I mean, we have totally put ourselves outside our life support system because we're so clever. We can use those same tools, our brain and our hands, to come out of that situation and reconnect with our life support system. We can do it. And if nobody can believe that, look in the eyes of a 7-year-old and tell him that you're going to dump him, that you're going to abandon him. No way. You'll start to cry. We have a responsibility which is a very exciting and fascinating time in our life. You know, when Sylvia was saying that we've lost our connections, we can recover our connections, and perhaps amazingly or ironically as it may sound, thanks to the space program, which has had a lot more money than the ocean research, and I'm all for the space program because indeed, as we looked at it and realized that it is a blue planet, we realized that everything is connected. We realized that there's only one water system, whether you live in Topeka, Kansas, in Lyon, or wherever on the planet, we're all connected to that water system, or life support system. And as she said this morning or yesterday, we realized this is the World Bank. Yes, it is the World Bank. And unless we take care of it, we'll go bankrupt. Nobody wants to go bankrupt. So we need to manage it. As we add another 100 million people to the planet every year, we better become better and better managers. Otherwise, yes, we're heading toward bankruptcy. So let's not take ourselves too seriously, but let's take care of ourselves as a species if we want to pass on this privilege that we have to other generations. For the future of our species, we will lose, and I believe we can win. I believe we can do it, and with young people, and I'm sorry to, Stuart, to point toward you, but it's so refreshing to see young people who have those guts to tell it the way it is. We can do it. And that generations that will be in charge and the future decision makers will do it. Fishing, as we've said over and over during this presentation, we're taking more than nature can produce. We need to look at nature as we look at a business. Really, and I know it's not very romantic, but we need to look at nature like a capital that has been made available to us, and we can only live off the interest that is being produced by this capital. If we go beyond that, we start to gobble up, which is what we do now, the capital, and we're heading toward bankruptcy. Who wants to go there? No one. So we need to learn and manage those resources so we can continue to having the privileges that we have had on this planet. And finally, we use the ocean as a garbage can. Whether you live in Topeka, Kansas, or you live anywhere on the planet. And having what I call the monkey reflex of disposing of things, thinking out of sight, out of mind, your cigarette lighter, your cigarette butts, your plastic bags, name it, it will find its way ultimately into the ocean. This is what we're doing to our ocean. This is what we're doing to ourselves. Not only plastic, but computers, television monitors, telephones, lots of glass bottles all over for miles and miles and miles. And that's what we see on top. Underwater, same thing as well with thousands of tons of fishing nets. Thousands and thousands of albatross will never fly because of us. And that goes for all those fish that get caught in those thousands of tons of fishing net, those birds that try to get the fish, those monk seals that are on the endangered species that get caught, the green sea turtles. Who wins? No one. And it all starts at home. We can change it. We can change it overnight. But we're very sensitive as visual creatures to what we see. What we don't talk very much about is what we don't see. And as it was mentioned earlier, toxins, heavy metals that are being passed on a regular basis into our water system, from taking a tablet of aspirin to take care of a headache, all the way to how we dispose of these very, very dangerous materials. I call it the call of the killer whale because thanks to the killer whales, the dominant species in the ocean that can eat anything, they can even team up and kill a blue whale if they want to, that are very, very sophisticated in the sense that they can recognize each other. They have different dialects, if you want to call it that way, from one population to another. They can hunt together, they can play together, they separate. Some of them are resident, some of them are transient, some of them are open ocean. There's less than 100,000 on the planet. And you can find them from the Arctic to the Antarctic, including in Papua New Guinea, in the middle of the tropics, on the equator. And those are telling us the story. As through the food chain, they accumulate all these toxins. And as it was mentioned earlier, some of them don't make it as they should, having a lifespan which is almost similar to ours. We're finding out in some cases that what they feed upon, which is loaded with all these toxins, is what we feed upon. So what we allow to go into the ocean comes back into our plate. So what we are in the process of doing now is to try to communicate and have dialogues with decision makers, even in the industry, such as the American Chemical Council in Washington, D.C., and different corporations that have agreed to have a dialogue. These people are human beings. They have children. They have families. They do care. We just need to change, and we can do it. I'm totally convinced that with meetings such as this one, provided that action is taken after we leave the room and not go back to business for business as usual, we can make a difference. And not only we can make a difference, but we can have fun, we can enjoy, we can appreciate. And there are magic moments that we need to continue to share with other people. And I'd like to end with what I feel personally is an emotional time when you are able to go into a foreign environment, which happens to be the ocean for us when you go diving, and be allowed to be part of that environment, be allowed to appreciate and enjoy and observe and enrich yourself as you spend time there, those magic moments. Let's not forget that in every one of us there's a little bit of a dinosaur, a little bit of a rose, a little bit of a fern, a little bit of a shark, a little bit of our close relatives, the whales. Everything is connected. We know nothing about our planet. So it's so exciting that if we do the right thing, we can continue to discover and appreciate and understand all these connections. People protect what they love. If we can pass on that message to others on the planet, we'll do the right thing. We need to have this decision, this power in ourselves to put it out there, so to do the right thing. And the good news, at least seen from my point of view and the one of many of my colleagues, is we can do it.